Hello, I'm Lois Kepke, Executive Director for Atlanta Theater to Go. This special version of Holiday Memories, Volume 1, has been prepared for senior adults who enjoy listening to the radio or are visually impaired. We know that the emotional benefits to tuning in the radio include keeping listeners company, puts them in a better mood, and helps them escape life's pressures. COVID-19 stopped us from traveling to you, our senior audience. A grant from Fulton County Arts and Culture made the idea of virtual performance a reality. This radio presentation of Holiday Memories Volume 1 was funded by Fulton County Board of Commissioners. Holiday Memories, a tribute to seniors, brings the stories from seniors and about seniors to life. Some are heartwarming, others are downright funny. But one thing is for sure, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy Holiday Memories, a tribute to senior adults, wherever you are and whenever you want. From our theater family to you, we wish you a very happy holiday season.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Gray. I am a local Atlanta actor, and I have been with Atlanta Theater to Go for more than 10 years. COVID 19 has not only changed a lot of things in our lives, it has also prevented theaters and entertainment venues from offering live performances, and I'm sad to say that has included us. But since we are all committed theater people here at Atlanta Theater to Go and believe that the show must go on, members of our troupe have volunteered to create a special holiday program just for you. I'm delighted to introduce our video presentation called Holiday Memories, a Tribute to Seniors. It's a collection of stories written about or by senior adults. Some of the stories are funny, some are heartwarming, and every one of them is true. From our beginning, the mission of Atlanta Theater to Go has always been to enrich the lives of seniors where they live and gather. And we normally do that by bringing professional theater events to senior communities all over the Atlanta area. But times have changed, and we are changing with them. So in this time of pandemic and Zoom, we are still bringing theater to you, but in a new way. We hope that all of you have a safe, healthy, and joyous holiday season, and we really hope that all of you are with us next year sometime for one of our live performances. So now enjoy Holiday Memories, a tribute to seniors.
Good evening. My name is B.J. Barrett, and my story is about the great Christmas tree escapade of 1960. My dad was an officer in the Air Force, so we moved around the country a lot. We had just moved from 3 very hot, warm, wonderful years in Texas to the unknown wilds of Great Falls, Montana. It was by far the coldest place I had ever lived up to that point. Well, come a couple of weeks before Christmas, my dad heard about a ranch area forest, privately owned, where you could legally go down and cut your own Christmas tree. He got the address, and he grabs my younger sister and me, and we set out on this great adventure. Him with his axe on a length of rope, and us piled into our family car, which was a 1960 version of one of the original Volkswagen Beetle bugs. You remember the rounded top? Keep that in mind for the rest of the story. After a long drive into the country, we finally come across a place where there were several large ranch-style pickup trucks with gigantic tires pulled off to the side of this little dirt road. It had been snowing all day. In fact, it had been snowing for days, and it looked very deep out there in the forest. Well, we got out gamely with the rope and the axe and sink into the snow up to my knees. My poor little sister sank practically up to her hips. We go trudging out into the wilds looking for the perfect tree because my dad wanted this to be the perfectly shaped and height, filling up the whole living room with its glory and its beautiful smell right up to the ceiling. And there were thousands upon thousands of those kind of trees out there. In fact, we passed thousands, but he didn't like any of them. They weren't tall enough. Finally, I am soaked up past my knees because I'm wearing 2 pairs of socks and tennis shoes. That's all I had after living in Texas for a few years, and my poor little sister was soaked up to her hips. Finally, we see the perfect tree, and it's just glorious. The shape is exquisite. The branches are thick. It comes to an incredible point on top, straight up in the air, a good 25 feet, I think. It was hard to figure that out as a 15-year-old. Laden with heavy white snow. So he goes up to it gamely with his great axe and starts to chop and chop. And every time he chopped, more snow came down on top of him, and my sister and I kept backing up further and further away from this tree. After a while, it started to topple in one way. He ran out of the way, yelling, "Timber!" and thump on the forest floor, and sure enough, the snow went up into our faces and on top of our head, and anything that wasn't wet before was certainly wet now with snow. We daren't say a word. He ties his ropes around the stump and the lower branches and starts to haul the tree back the way we came from. It's a long way back, and it's twice as slow going back as it was getting there, pulling this gigantic specimen of a beautiful forest Christmas tree. Well, it kept getting stuck on bushes and stumps and other things out there in the forest. And I was on the tip of the tree trying to maneuver the other end of it to keep it from getting stuck, which I couldn't do. It was much heavier and bigger and out of my ability. Finally, we could go no further. And he stops for a break and says, "Okay, I guess this was a little too tall anyway. I think I'll just take off some of it." So he gets the axe out and takes off at least 3 feet off of that tree, maybe a little more. Ties the rope back on, yanks it free from where it was stuck, and we take off again. Well, I notice it's starting to get darker, at least late afternoon, because darkness comes pretty early at the solstice in December in Great Falls, Montana. I'm a little worried by this time, and my sister is whining and crying, and I'm dragging her along because she can't hardly make it through the snow, and she's cold and she's hungry. Eventually, we see the place where our car is, and I am just so excited. But when we come to the clearing, we notice that there are only 2 trucks left. Everyone else has already gone home, and it is very late in the afternoon. We pull our tree up next to our car and look at the car and look at the tree. Look at the car and look at the tree. Well, the tree is longer than the car and wider than the car. So my dad says, "Okay, I guess I better take a little bit of this off before we try to get it on top." And I'm going, oh no, on top. So he cuts off a couple of more feet, not that that did much good, and proceeds to have me push it up on one side while he tries to throw it and pull it over the other. Well, this is not working at all. I'm not tall enough or strong enough for that kind of game. Eventually, a couple of ranchers that were still there took pity on us and walked over and said, "Mister, look, you could use a hand. How about you let us help you get that tree tied up on your car?" And I thought I heard a lot of snickering and sniggling and chuckling under their breath. I'm sure I did. And I'm sure I heard a lot of cursing under my dad's breath too as we did this. So they tied the trunk, the bottom part that was cut, to the front bumper, so it hung over the front windshield. The body of the tree was on the roof, hanging down over the doors, and the top of the tree was hanging on the back side where it was tied securely to the back bumper, completely covering the back window. The only way it was going to stay on top was by looping the extra rope over the body of the tree and through the inside of the roof, inside of the ceiling of the car, through the windows, right? Like a big package. Tie it up. There were no rails on the car to tie it to. So he ties it as tight as he can. We get in, and the car does start up. Thank goodness. However, we had no chains and no snow tires, and it wouldn't move out of the little puddle of ice that had frozen around it after we got there. He went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and the more he did, the deeper we got into the snow. There was one truck with a couple of guys in it that was still sitting up on the road, ready to take off into the dark, saw our plight, and got out and said, "Uh-oh, we don't want you to be stuck out here in the forest all night with your two little girls. Mr. People freeze to death out here, don't you know?" They saw our Texas license plate on the car. So they get their chain out, toss it over the back of their truck, and tie it, hook it around the front bumper of our little Volkswagen, and proceed to jerk us out of the snow drift. And with much squealing and fishtailing back and forth, finally, our car is up on the little dirt road, such as it is in the forest. They come out, undo their chain. My dad says, "Thanks a lot," and off they take into the dark. Well, there are no lights out there. We are in the middle of nowhere in the forest in a snowstorm. He takes off after their taillights, and we are fishtailing around in the ruts because we have a little Volkswagen, and the only other vehicles out there forever were these gigantic truck tires, which was their trail was a lot wider than our little car. So we were one foot in a drift and 1 foot in a rut. Eventually, after much effort and more unmentionable words coming out of my father's mouth, we finally got up on the highway, such as it is, a 2-lane road. And it wasn't much better than the little country ranch road. It was also covered with snow, and there were no lights out there in the middle of nowhere in Montana. After many miles of driving very slowly and carefully, with my sister finally falling asleep in the back, thank goodness, and me shivering with cold because we couldn't roll our windows all the way up because of this rope coming in and the tree hanging down on both sides. And every time we came to an intersection, I had to roll down my window and part what I could see through the branches on my side to see if there was a car coming so we could pull across. After a lifetime, we got back to our house. He unties the tree and I help him. My mother's running out from the house, screaming and yelling and crying, and "Where have you been? And I've been so worried about you, and it's totally dark, and I expected you hours ago, and what happened? And it's been snowing, and you must be freezing to death, and where's my baby?" Grabs my younger sister, takes her in the house, and I have to help my dad untie this tree and drag it up to our front porch. He said, "I will deal with this tomorrow morning. I'm going inside and changing clothes and getting a hot shower and going to bed," which is what he did, with the addition of a couple of beers. Well, the next morning, we go out bright and early, excited to bring our tree into the house. And look at this tree, and look at the door, and look at the width of the door, and the height of the door, and the height of the tree, and the width of the tree. That tree's not going through our door. So he gets the axe out, spends another good hour trimming branches off the tree, trimming at least another couple or 3 feet from the bottom of the tree. Finally, he announces that it's done. That's all he's going to chop off of this tree. That's it. It's going to fit or it's going to go in the dump. So everybody get ready. It's coming in the house. Get the ornaments. Get the little holder for the tree. It's going up, and this is going to be our incredible our forest Christmas tree. Drag it into the house, leaving a wet trail of gunk behind us. Get it into the holder and try to stand the thing up. Well, no way, Jose. It's not going up it is bent over at the top, at least with another 2 feet of tree. So turn the tree over, drag it out to the front yard, because my mother says there's no way you're going to use an axe in my living room to chop off the top of that tree. Drag it out through the door again, where it lost about a gazillion more needles. Chops off at least a couple of more feet from the top this time. Drag it back in and stand it up. And sure enough, there it was in all of its glory, all the way up, poking into the ceiling, our great tree that filled up the living room and smelled like a dream. Thank you, everybody. And Merry Yule and Happy Christmas to you.
Hi, I'm Lois Kepke, and I'm going to tell you a story about my grandmother, Elaine. Grandma Elaine was a very funny, witty, and humorous person. We loved her. She'd come up with different schemes of things and just had a great way of looking at life. Well, when the song came out, Grandma got run over by a reindeer. She couldn't stop laughing. In fact, every year at Christmas, when that song would come on, she would crank up the radio and have us all singing along. She would laugh so much that she would be howling and crying, tears rolling down her face. She couldn't speak. She absolutely loved that song. And one year, she played it 14 times in a row for us and laughed as if she's only heard it one time. So my grandma Elaine, she liked to tease people. She'd like to play pranks on people on April Fool's Day. But one of the things that we know about my grandmother is she was just a real person. And so when she passed and it was time to plan her funeral, the entire family knew the song that was going to be played at her funeral. Yes, we did it. At the very end, in celebration of Grandma Elaine, we cranked up the music and played Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. You should have saw the look on the pastor's face. I'm going to recite that song for you. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. Walking home from our house on Christmas Eve, you can say that there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe. She'd been drinking too much eggnog, and we begged her not to go. But she forgot her medication, and she staggered out the door into the snow. When we found her on Christmas morning at the scene of the attack, she had hoof prints on her forehead and incriminating claws marks on her back. Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house on Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe. Now we're all so proud of Grandpa. He's been taking this so well. See him in there watching football, drinking beer, and playing cards with Cousin Mel. It's not Christmas without Grandma. All the family is dressed in black. And we just can't help but wonder, should we open up her gifts or send them back? Grandma got run over by a reindeer. Walking home from our house on Christmas Eve, you can say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe. Now the goose is on the table, and the pudding made of fig, and the blue and silver candles that would just have matched the hair on Grandma's wig. Now I've warned all my friends and neighbors, better watch out for yourselves. They should never give a license to a man who drives a sleigh and plays with elves. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. Walking home from our house on Christmas Eve, you can say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe.
Hey there, my name is Lee Beakley, and I have been helping Atlanta Theater to Go bring stories to seniors wherever they live and gather for at least a decade. Today, I've got a story for you. and it's about Elsie. A holiday tradition for me and my wife Elsie each and every year was to go out to dinner with her father, Edward. Now, Edward was a big, tough, burly pressman for the New York Post newspaper, but he was also dapper. And so he loved to dress nice, enjoy good food. On this occasion, they had decided to go to a Scottish restaurant. Edward, of course, dressed to the nines, white shirt, cufflinks, the works. Well, after an evening of drinks and food, Edward had to go to the necessary room. So Edward asked the waiter for the directions to the restroom. The waiter said, "Oh, down the hall to the left." Well, Edward went, came back a few minutes later looking a little bit distressed, and he said, "I am not sure I understand your directions. Where is the men's room?" Oh, again, the waiter said, "Down hall on the left." Edward went back and looked again for the restroom, and in a few minutes he came back again. This time he has his hands in his pockets, kind of holding it in, and obviously still needed to use it, and more demandingly said, "Waiter, I see all of the ladies' rooms." And the waiter said back to him, "Man, here we say laddies, and that is the place for men."
Hi, I'm Mary Claire Cluster, and I'm reading a story written by Thelma Head. It was a happy time when our two sons were growing up. It was such fun to go to a Christmas tree farm and pick out the tree we wanted, and they would cut it down for us. We liked a nice tree. We would open presents on Christmas Eve, and then Santa would have come the next morning.
Hi, I'm Corey Anderson, and this is Carolyn Fletcher's memory of A Christmas Wonderland. My favorite holiday memory happened 2 years ago in Willingboro, New Jersey. My brother Landon called for the family to come to his house for Christmas dinner. His daughter Yvonne and her family came in from Chicago, and we, that is, my daughter and her family and me, came in from Georgia. My brother's son, Landon, and his family lived in Delran, New Jersey, as well as my son, Richard, and his family. We hadn't been together since my mother's death in 2014. When I arrived at my brother's house, it was decorated so beautifully on the outside. When he opened the door and I went in, it was as if I had entered Christmas Wonderland. The house was decorated so beautifully with red and green. He set the mood immediately. There was a tree upstairs and one downstairs where we would open gifts. I could feel the spirit of my mom and dad there because they made our holidays full of love and joy and happiness. On Christmas Eve, I cooked a special spare rib recipe. It was fantastic, if I say so myself. After dinner, my brother and I went to Christmas Eve service. After we got back home again, we began cooking for dinner the big day. We started cooking string beans, cabbage, candied yams, Jell-O salad, and the potato salad. It was 5 o'clock before I went to bed. Put the turkey in the oven, and then we were out the door to my son's house for a 10 o'clock buffet. I don't know when I had felt so happy. The laughter, the smiling faces, seeing the family together was just so exciting. And Rich and Christina's house was decorated so beautiful. They had 3 Christmas trees, each prettier than the other. My goodness, it's 2 o'clock and we have to go back to Landon's house to prepare for the 7 o'clock dinner. I will never forget how beautiful those tables were. Landon continued the theme of red and green, and I asked everyone to wear red. It was amazing how happy that house looked. And after dinner, it was Santa Claus time. The children passed out the gifts and we all rejoiced. The next day was Sunday and we went to church with Landon. The tears rolled down his eyes because he was happy to have had the family together for such a joyous occasion. What a day. What a 3-day of Christmas bliss.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and this is dedicated to Nanny Lou. This is a story about feeling loved from a distance. Being a military kid meant I saw my grandmother only once in a blue moon. She filled what little time we had with quality. It was on one of these cherished visits she taught me to talk to a train. I was snuggled up in bed for the night with a full heart because I was at my Nanny Lou's house. As I was starting to doze off, I saw my grandma tiptoeing into the bedroom so she wouldn't wake my sister lying next to me. She gently nudged my shoulder and whispered, "Shell, follow me." She led me to her backyard. The fresh night air brushed against my face as I took in the beautiful sounds of the insect orchestra that is ever present in the South. I delighted in the feel of the cool grass crunching under my bare feet as we went a bit further back. I noticed the train track she was leading me to, lit by the glow of a street lamp. Suddenly, another light appeared in the darkness, and it slowly grew in size as it traveled along the tracks. See the light, Shell? That's the train coming. Nanny Lou bent down closer as if to share a secret. In soft tones and a hint of whimsy, she said, "Let's see if the train will talk to us tonight. Do you know how to talk to a train?" I did not, and was so excited at the idea of attempting to try. Nanny Lou bent my arm just so and told me to pump up and down over and over again. I was so eager to try, and I followed her lead to a T. "Good girl, that's how you do it. Now wait until I say go." The growing of the train's headlights seemed to match the growing of my anticipation. "Please, oh please, train, talk to us tonight," I pleaded in my mind. All of a sudden, interrupting my thoughts, came a resounding "go" from my grandma. I held my breath and pumped my arm as fast as I could muster. Then it happened. The magical forlorn sound of the train's whistle filled the night's air. My heart leapt as I grinned from ear to ear. "Nanny Lou," he said hi. "The train said hi." She looked at me with loving eyes and said, "Now, when you hear your train, no matter where you are, know that I'm thinking of you." My grandmother, with a smile, waved a good evening to the conductor and a nod with her head. She thanked him. She thanked him for blowing the whistle at bedtime, for being a part of the magic, and helping make a memory for her granddaughter, Michelle. Well, needless to say, my grown children knew this story, and all their lives, when we'd hear that train whistle, we would wave to it and say hi. When they were in college, they called me on separate occasions and they said, "Mom, we heard your train." And of course I asked, "Well, did you wave and say hi?" My daughter said, "Yes, Mom, of course, I always do." There's something about hearing your train that just makes me feel like everything's going to be okay. And then I asked my son, "Well, did you say hi?" And he said no. My heart sank, and then I delicately asked why. And he said, "Mom, when I heard your train, I didn't say hi. What I said was, 'I love you, Mom.'" Needless to say, my heart recovered, and then I cried. Thank you, Nanny Lou, for believing in magic. And your magic goes on.
Happy holidays, y'all. My name is Jason Pure, and this is my rendition of a Christmas classic, "O Come All Ye Faithful." Enjoy. O come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Oh, sing, choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Oh, sing, all ye citizens of Bethlehem. Glory to God, oh, glory in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Merry Christmas, y'all.